Imagine for a second, just picture a vault.
Okay.
But not a steel vault in the basement of some bank. I'm talking about a biological one. It's about a 1/4 inch thick, made entirely of bone. And for literally the entirety of human history, it has been the absolute impenetrable fortress of your privacy.
Right, the human skull.
Exactly. I mean, we all know you can be tracked externally, right?
Yeah.
Your movements mapped, your purchases categorized, your digital footprint sold to the highest bidder.
Yeah, that's just the baseline of the modern internet.
Right, but the inside of that vault, your doubts, your fleeting distractions, your unspoken moments of clarity, or even just, your silent rebellions, that belonged entirely to you.
It was the one safe space left.
It was. But what if I told you that the absolute last private space you own, the literal inside of your head, is about to be breached, monitored, and optimized by your employer?
I mean, the implications of a breach like that, it just completely rewrites the fundamental social contract of labor.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a really comprehensive, almost masterclass style script from MediaGenX.
Yeah, it's an incredible piece of research.
It's called the Neurocapitalism Cartel.
Yeah.
And the core premise here is this massive transition we're undergoing. We're moving from a digital economy that tracks our external behavior, so where we click, where we drive,
to an economy that tracks our internal biological cognitive states.
Exactly. The shift from behavioral extraction to biological extraction. And our mission today is to prepare you, the listener, for this impending era of non-invasive brain-computer interfaces.
Which is coming much faster than people realize.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to look at how it will reshape the workplace and, critically, how to position yourself financially and personally for this new reality.
Right.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Why the brain?
Well, to understand the billions of dollars of venture capital just flooding into neurotechnology right now, you have to understand the massive economic void those dollars are trying to fill. The global economy has almost entirely transitioned away from extracting physical resources to extracting cognitive output.
Yeah, the most valuable companies on Earth don't forge steel anymore.
Exactly. They write code, they architect complex financial derivatives, they train artificial intelligence. The primary instrument of production isn't the assembly line, it is the human prefrontal cortex.
But, I mean, if the prefrontal cortex is the new engine of the economy, it's a pretty flawed engine, isn't it?
Oh, it's deeply flawed.
It honestly feels like we took this ancient piece of biological hardware and just plugged it into a fiber optic grid it was never ever designed to handle.
That's a great way to put it. We've basically got this massive evolutionary mismatch going on. The human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to do things like scan the savannah for predators.
Right. Not dual monitor Slack setups.
Exactly. It evolved to track the social dynamics of a tribe of maybe 150 people.
Yeah.
And, critically, it evolved to conserve caloric energy. Deep, sustained, abstract thought is metabolically expensive.
So the brain naturally wants to avoid it.
Yeah, it's biologically wired to be highly distractible. Because in a hunter-gatherer environment, if you miss a subtle rustle in the grass, that could mean death.
Wow. So we take that ancient, energy-conserving savanna brain, we sit it in front of a massive monitor, and we just pummel it with notifications.
Emails, algorithmic dopamine loops, all of it.
It's no wonder people feel like they're just completely drowning at their desks.
And the cost of this mismatch isn't just, a vague feeling of burnout. Economists have actually quantified this.
Let's hear the numbers.
According to the MediaGenX data, trillions of dollars are lost globally every single year to what they call cognitive friction.
Cognitive friction.
Yeah. It's the lost productivity caused by context switching, digital distraction, and basically the rapid depletion of glycogen in the prefrontal cortex.
And they had a crazy stat about interruptions, right?
Yeah, the average knowledge worker is interrupted every 11 minutes.
11 minutes. I mean, just think about the logistics of that. If you're a software engineer trying to hold the architecture of this really complex application in your working memory.
Or a financial analyst modeling a 10-year projection.
Right. An interruption at minute 10 basically clears the entire whiteboard in your head. You have to start over.
And the recovery time is the truly brutal metric here. It takes the human brain roughly 25 minutes to re-enter a state of deep flow state focus after a major interruption.
Wait, 25 minutes just to get back to where you were?
Yeah, the biochemical reality is that neurotransmitters have to realign and your default mode network has to quiet down again.
So mathematically, if you're interrupted every 11 minutes, but it takes 25 minutes to get back in the zone, you're literally never doing deep work.
You're biologically trapped in a state of shallow, reactive cognitive skimming. Sustained deep work is literally impossible in that environment.
It's like if a physical factory lost 30% of its output because machines just randomly powered down in the middle of the day, engineers would tear the factory apart.
They would completely dismantle the assembly line to find the mechanical flaw.
Right. But because the machine in this scenario is our brain, managers are completely blind. They just accept the 30% loss.
Or worse, they blame the worker for lacking discipline.
Exactly. Because corporate management relies entirely on lagging indicators. They ask, did the code ship on Friday? Did the sales rep meet their quota?
Right, they have absolutely zero visibility into your real-time cognitive load. The contrast between physical management and cognitive management really highlights the core problem of the knowledge economy.
How so?
Well, in the industrial era, you could physically see the bottleneck on the factory floor. You could watch a gear slip or a conveyor belt jam.
That's tangible.
But in our current system, the gear slipping is an employee quietly burning out at their desk, staring blankly at a spreadsheet because their working memory is completely saturated, and the manager just cannot see that glycogen depletion happening inside the skull.
Which raises a huge ethical question for me. I mean, does an employer actually have the right to demand uninterrupted biological focus?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Like when I sign an employment contract, am I selling a specific outcome, like delivering a slide deck by Friday? Or am I literally selling the biological state of my brain?
Are you guaranteeing optimal neural firing patterns for 8 continuous hours?
Yeah. It sounds insane when you put it like that.
But that distinction is exactly what defines the next decade of labor law. Historically, employers purchased your time. But with the advent of the technologies outlined in this MediaGenX script, they're attempting to purchase your morology.
Because capital markets despise inefficiency.
And they despise blindness even more. If managers can't see the brain working, capitalism will inevitably invent a flashlight to illuminate it.
Okay, so capitalism wants a flashlight. But the skull is literally a wall of calcium. You can't put a manager inside my head.
No, you can't.
And for decades, getting high-fidelity data out of the brain required, invasive surgery.
Exactly. The old hardware paradigm was relegated to the surgical suite. Extreme medical interventions.
Like a Utah array.
Right. The gold standard for brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, was the Utah array. It involves surgically drilling through the skull and implanting this tiny bed of microscopic silicon needles directly into the cerebral cortex.
Which is incredible technology for paralyzed patients. It allows them to control robotic limbs. But the physical barrier to entry is literally brain surgery.
Yeah, which makes it a complete non-starter for the general workforce. No human resources department is going to mandate a surgical implant just to check if you're paying attention during a marketing meeting.
I would certainly hope not. But what about those consumer headsets we saw a few years ago? The ones that just measure electrical voltage on your scalp?
External EEG headbands. Electroencephalography. They try to avoid surgery, but the problem is ED is severely limited by the physics of the human head.
Because the skull gets in the way.
Exactly. The skull is a massive electrical insulator. It smears, diffuses, and dampens all those delicate neural signals before they ever reach the sensors on your skin.
The MediaGenX script had this incredible analogy for EEG.
The stadium in a rainstorm.
Yes. That trying to read a precise cognitive state from an external EEG headband is like trying to listen to a specific whispered conversation inside a crowded stadium.
During a torrential downpour.
Right. While standing entirely outside the stadium walls.
It's brilliant. You might hear the roar of the crowd when a touchdown happens, right? A generalized spike in activity. But you cannot decipher a single syllable of that whispered conversation.
You hear the noise, but you lose the signal. So how are Silicon Valley hardware companies bypassing this physical barrier without surgery and without relying on those smeared electrical signals?
By entirely abandoning electrical voltage, they moved over to optical physics.
Okay, optical physics.
The technology driving this new revolution is called fNIRS. That stands for Functional Near-Infrared Spectroscopy. And it relies on something called the hemodynamic response.
Which is basically the mechanics of blood flow in the brain, right?
Exactly.
Walk me through the physics here. When I am doing something cognitively demanding, what is physically changing inside my head that a light sensor can actually detect?
Okay, so when a specific region of your brain engages in a complex task, say debugging a really complicated Python script,
Okay.
the neurons in that highly localized area start firing rapidly. But to maintain that level of activity, those neurons consume a lot of oxygen.
They need fuel.
Right. So to prevent the tissue from starving, your body immediately dilates the local blood vessels, rushing freshly oxygenated blood directly to that specific cluster of neurons.
So deep thought literally alters the localized concentration of blood oxygen.
Yes, it's called neurovascular coupling.
But a sensor still needs to see that blood flow through the bone. How does light get through a skull?
And that is the brilliant quirk of fNIRS. Human tissue and bone have what physicists call an optical window.
An optical window.
Yeah. While normal visible light is absorbed by melanin and water in your skin, near-infrared light passes relatively unimpeded through your skin, tissue, and skull bone.
Wait, really? Just passes right through.
Yeah, specifically wavelengths between 700 and 900 nanometers. It just scatters straight through into the cerebral cortex.
Okay, so the light goes in. But how does it bring information back out to the sensor?
So as those near-infrared photons scatter through the brain tissue, they interact with the hemoglobin in your blood.
The oxygen carriers.
Right.
Yeah.
And oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood absorb these specific near-infrared wavelengths at predictably different rates.
Oh, wow.
So by embedding microscopic low-power infrared light-emitting diodes and really sensitive photodetectors into something as ubiquitous as, say, the frame of a pair of eyeglasses.
Or the silicone tips of wireless earbuds.
Exactly. You can shine this light into the prefrontal cortex, collect the photons that bounce back out, and measure the exact spectral shift.
We are essentially talking about a localized optical MRI machine that has been miniaturized to fit inside everyday consumer audio devices.
The leap in miniaturization over the past 5 years has been absolutely astonishing. It's been driven heavily by supply chain improvements in the photonics industry.
So I put in my earbuds to listen to a podcast, and the earbuds are simultaneously shining lasers through my skull to map the oxygen consumption of my frontal lobe.
That is exactly what is happening, but we need to be really clear about what this hardware can and cannot do.
Right, let's establish the boundaries.
fNIRS does not read semantic thoughts. It cannot decode the English words you are thinking.
It's not going to steal my banking password.
No, it doesn't know if you're picturing a blue car or a red house. It is not a comic book telepathy device.
It's reading the thermodynamics of my attention.
Beautifully said. It maps working memory capacity, it measures fatigue, it tracks frustration levels, and it can identify the exact physical, biological markers of the flow state.
It measures the effort of the machine, not the contents of the files on the hard drive.
Precisely.
Okay, but the raw optical data coming out of those sensors, the photon counts bouncing off oxygenated hemoglobin, that's just a massive stream of scattered numbers.
Right, if you look at that raw feed, it just looks like a chaotic, wavy line on a chart. Raw data is just noise.
So who or what is translating that noise into actionable human resources metrics?
The hardware alone is useless without the second pillar of the neurocapitalism cartel, and that is the AI neurodecoder.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence serves as the universal translator here. Consider how large language models map the latent space of human language.
Right, by analyzing billions of parameters of text until they understood the mathematical relationships between words.
Exactly. Tech companies have taken that exact same transformer architecture and applied it to the multidimensional time series data of human blood oxygenation.
So instead of training a neural network on the entire text of the internet, they're literally training it on brainwaves.
Yes.
But where did they even get a data set large enough to map the latent space of human neurology?
The MediaGenX script reveals something pretty wild. Over the past 5 years, enterprise tech companies conducted these massive, unpublicized data gathering operations.
Really? How?
They placed thousands of knowledge workers into incredibly precise, high-density fMRI machines and hospital-grade fNIRS rigs.
And what did they have them do?
They assign these workers highly specific tasks, complex coding challenges, reading dense legal briefs, solving mathematical puzzles.
So they intentionally induced different cognitive states and recorded the exact blood flow changes in real time.
Right. They tracked the hemodynamic response minute by minute and correlated it perfectly with the workers' physical outputs, their keystrokes, their screen activity, their mouse movements, their error rates.
Wow. And that proprietary telemetry created the foundation models for these AI neurodecoders.
Exactly. Exactly. The AI learned that a specific complex waveform of oxygen depletion in the prefrontal cortex always precedes a human becoming frustrated and abandoning a task.
It mapped the exact neurological signature of a mind entering a deep, sustainable flow state.
Yes. The AI knows what burnout looks like mathematically before the employee even consciously feels tired. It builds what the source material calls a cognitive digital twin.
A cognitive digital twin. That fundamentally alters the relationship between a worker and the concept of time.
Completely. Because today, a manager evaluates your performance based on output over a traditional 8-hour workday, right?
Right. Did you sit at your desk for 8 hours and produce something?
But with the integration of fNIRS hardware and AI decoders, the system monitors your biological server capacity instead.
So the dashboard logs that I achieved exactly 2 hours and 14 minutes of deep cognitive flow.
Yes. It registers 45 minutes of high-friction problem solving. It flags 3 hours of low-load administrative fatigue.
The evaluation metric shifts from output-based performance to a biological return on investment. The AI correlates my neurological flow states with my specific code commits or my closed sales calls to calculate a precise biological ROI for my brain.
They are essentially treating the human employee like a server rack, monitoring CPU usage, checking for thermal throttling, and optimizing RAM allocation in real time.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because this level of intimate telemetry brings us to a critical juncture. If an employer announces they are rolling out earbuds to track literal brain CPU usage, the natural human response is revulsion.
Complete revulsion.
Employees would unionize, they'd walk out, or just outright refuse to wear the hardware. I would quit on the spot. You cannot mandate that I stream the blood flow of my prefrontal cortex to a cloud server.
And that's exactly why you assume it will be deployed as an explicit surveillance tool.
Will it not be?
The MediaGenX analysis points out that the enterprise software industry never introduces surveillance as a mandate. They introduce it as a premium perk.
Ah, the Trojan Horse.
Exactly. They call this strategy the B2B Trojan Horse of the neurocapitalism cartel. It will be packaged and sold to the workforce as an elite, voluntary corporate wellness and productivity program.
Probably branded as something like a peak performance neuro kit.
Yes, a voluntary wellness program. Let's walk through the case study they provided of how this actually infiltrates an office environment.
Okay, lay it out for me.
Imagine a senior software engineer at a major Fortune 500 financial technology firm.
Okay, high stakes environment.
Right. This engineer is highly compensated, but chronically stressed. They are constantly battling the cognitive friction of endless Slack messages, Zoom meetings, and context switching.
They're on the verge of burnout, struggling to hit their development deadlines.
Exactly. So Human Resources sends an email offering a new voluntary pilot program. They provide a beautifully designed high-end pair of fNIRS-enabled earbuds paired with an AI cognitive coach application on the employee's phone.
So I put the earbuds in, and initially, it probably feels like I've gained a superpower.
The immediate feedback loop is incredibly positive. When the AI detects the specific neurological signature of you entering a flow state, it actively defends your focus.
How? What does it do?
It automatically updates your Slack status to Do Not Disturb. It routes your phone calls directly to voicemail. It might even interface with your smart office lighting to dim the room.
Oh, wow.
Or play a targeted frequency of binaural beats that its dataset proves will sustain your specific neural oscillation patterns.
So my external environment dynamically shapes itself to protect my attention span, based entirely on my real-time biology.
Exactly. It acts as a guardian angel for your working memory. When the AI detects the microscopic early markers of cognitive fatigue, it gently interrupts you.
Before I even realize I'm getting frustrated.
Long before you consciously realize your frustration is spiking, it suggests a 5-minute walk or a brief breathing exercise right at the precise biological moment you need it to prevent a complete crash.
So my productivity skyrockets, my end-of-day exhaustion plummets, and I become a total evangelist for these earbuds.
The Trojan Horse is safely inside the city walls. You are happy, you are highly productive, and you willingly wear biometric sensors for 8 hours a day.
But what's the catch?
You click Agree on a 60-page enterprise terms of service agreement. While the application provides you with personalized neurofeedback, the anonymized aggregated telemetry data of your brain's performance is simultaneously streaming back to a dashboard controlled by corporate management.
So this marks the birth of neurological Taylorism.
Precisely, neurological Taylorism.
For those who don't know, Frederick Taylor and the scientific management movement of the early 1910s He completely revolutionized factory work at Midvale Steel.
Right. He basically stood over laborers with a literal stopwatch.
Yeah, timing every single physical movement involved in lifting pig iron. He optimized the human body to operate exactly like a cog in a machine.
Taylorism stripped the autonomy and humanity out of physical labor to maximize mechanical efficiency. Neurological Taylorism is the exact same underlying philosophy, but applied to the mind.
And rendered entirely invisible.
Invisible and continuous. The corporate C-suite can open a dashboard and observe that Engineer A reliably achieves peak cognitive flow at 8 in the morning, while Engineer B peaks at 9 at night.
They can mathematically prove that the 2 o'clock all-hands marketing meeting causes massive measurable spikes in cognitive friction and stress markers across the entire department,
completely destroying the rest of the afternoon's biological output.
So management starts scheduling tasks and optimizing workflows based on the literal blood oxygen flow of the department.
Yes.
But the immediate problem I see here is the culture shift. Because once this voluntary wellness program helps a small cohort of early adopters unlock, say, 4 extra hours of deep, frictionless work per day,
their artificially enhanced output becomes the new baseline expectation for the entire company.
Exactly. The voluntary nature of the program just evaporates the moment the augmented workers raise the productivity curve.
If you refuse to wear the sensors out of a desire for privacy, your relative output just plummets compared to your peers.
You're suddenly categorized as an underperformer. Not because your skills degraded, but because you refused the biological optimization engine.
Exactly. So how does an unaugmented employee negotiate their value?
Think about that. Picture sitting in a quarterly performance review, attempting to justify a promotion, and your manager rotates a monitor to display a line graph proving your prefrontal cortex was only actively engaged in high-level problem solving for 37 minutes on a given Tuesday.
You cannot argue with the optical physics of your own blood flow. The machine possesses higher fidelity data on your effort than your own conscious memory.
It's terrifying. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, when we extrapolate this dynamic beyond a single office and look at the 10-year macro outlook, the societal implications become staggering.
The MediaGenX thesis warns that this technology won't just stratify workers within a single office. It will fundamentally restructure global wealth accumulation,
creating what they term a biological class divide.
A biological class divide.
Which is wild because we traditionally define class divides by external metrics, right? Access to capital, zip codes, admission to elite universities.
Right.
The idea that inequality could become an internalized biological metric is just terrifying.
Let's examine the case study of the 2 students from the source material because it really clearly illustrates how this gap compounds over time.
Okay, let's break down the tale of 2 students, student A and student B.
So consider student A, whom we will call the neuro-have. This student comes from a family with significant disposable income. They purchase the absolute premium, AI-driven fNIRS headsets.
Are fully decked out.
Yeah, they utilize personalized nootropic stacks, smart drugs and supplements, basically, and the dosages of those supplements are dynamically adjusted by an AI monitoring their real-time hemodynamics.
Unbelievable.
And their physical environment is totally optimized with circadian lighting and temperature controls tied directly to their neural telemetry.
Every variable in their environment is engineered to completely remove biological friction.
As a result, student A can reliably, almost mechanically, induce a state of deep neuroplastic learning flow for 6 straight hours a day. They absorb complex mathematics or new programming languages with just incredible efficiency.
Wow. Okay, now contrast this with student B, the neuro have-not. They come from a working class background, studying in a noisy, distracting dorm environment.
Right.
They cannot afford the biometric hardware or the custom supplements. They rely on cheap caffeine, sugar, and sheer raw willpower to focus.
But willpower is not a magical infinite resource. It is tied directly to the glycogen levels in the prefrontal cortex. Student B is fighting a biological war of attrition against their own brain chemistry.
Regardless of their innate intelligence or drive, student B is going to hit total cognitive fatigue after maybe 2 hours.
Their working memory saturates and their ability to consolidate new information collapses. So student A secures 6 hours of frictionless learning, while student B struggles for 2 hours before completely burning out.
Now mathematically extrapolate that daily discrepancy over a 4-year university degree.
And then project it across a 10-year career in the knowledge economy. The focus gap compounding effect is simply insurmountable.
The wealthy are no longer just buying a better education or a stronger alumni network. They are literally purchasing a physically superior cognitive state.
Which completely obliterates the concept of a meritocracy. If access to capital dictates your biological attention span, the meritocracy degrades into a biological oligarchy.
And the unenhanced workers, lacking the biological endurance to compete in deep work tasks, will just be relegated to shallow, reactive, low-margin administrative labor.
Exactly. The kind of labor that artificial intelligence hasn't yet found economical to automate. Cognitive enhancement transitions from a niche medical intervention to the ultimate luxury good, directly determining an individual's lifetime earning potential.
Okay, so let's shift the tone and address the pragmatist listening right now. Let's pivot to the MediaGenX wealth playbook.
Good idea.
If the biological class divide is inevitable, if neurocapitalism is coming, how does an investor or an entrepreneur position themselves today? Because there is massive capital moving through this sector.
The playbook outlines specific financial vectors to target, as well as the traps you need to avoid. And the primary warning in the playbook is to avoid the consumer retail trap.
Right. Don't invest in flashy consumer meditation headbands.
Exactly. Retail investors often flock to the companies manufacturing these viral headbands marketed on social media. But the consumer hardware space is a low-margin, high-churn race to the bottom.
Building generational wealth in a technological shift requires investing in the underlying infrastructure, the picks and shovels of the cognitive economy.
Yes. Which brings us to the first investment vector, sensor and photonics monopolies.
Because fNIRS relies on highly specific wavelengths of light,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. The companies that manufacture the microscopic components capable of emitting and detecting that light hold the keys to the entire industry. They essentially collect a hardware tax.
The playbook highlighted two specific technologies here.
Yeah, VCSLs and SPADs.
Okay, let's break this down. VCSEL stands for Vertical Cavity Surface Emitting Lasers. And SPAD is Single Photon Avalanche Diodes. What do those actually do?
These are incredibly complex semiconductor devices. SPA, for instance, operates by exploiting an avalanche breakdown in the semiconductor material, which allows it to detect the arrival of a single photon of light.
A single photon? That's incredible.
Right. And manufacturing these components at scale with low enough power consumption to fit inside a wireless earbud requires billions of dollars in fabrication infrastructure.
So a startup cannot just build a single photon avalanche diode in a garage.
Not a chance. The mid-cap semiconductor and advanced materials firms holding the patents for these quantum optical sensors act as unavoidable toll booths.
Whether Apple, Meta, or a defense contractor builds the final headset, they all must pay that hardware tax to the photonics patent holders.
Exactly. Now, the second vector moves from hardware to software, specifically the neuro data foundries.
Ah, right. Because the raw light data is totally useless without a map.
Think back to the generative AI boom of the early 2020s. The companies that won the foundation model wars were those that secured exclusive access to massive, high-quality training data.
Right. The LLM wars were won on data.
The brain-computer interface sector will follow the exact same consolidation pattern. The winners will be the entities holding the largest, most diverse proprietary data sets correlating raw hemodynamics to actual human behavior.
So investors should be looking for B2B platforms that are quietly establishing data sharing partnerships.
Exactly. Partnerships with hospital networks, massive university research programs, and enterprise corporations. The goal is to build the definitive neuro foundation model.
An AI capable of accurately decoding cognitive load across different age brackets, neurodivergent profiles, and demographic variables.
The moat around that kind of biological data set is virtually impenetrable for a new entrant.
That makes total sense. Now, the third vector is really fascinating. It's an asymmetric, contrarian macro trade that targets enterprise software churn.
The shorting of legacy HR and the rise of cognitive privacy.
The playbook suggests shorting legacy human resources and time tracking software. The multi-billion-dollar industry currently built around digital employee surveillance.
You know, the software that logs keystrokes, takes random screenshots, and tracks mouse movement, it is extremely vulnerable.
Because those legacy tools only measure the illusion of work.
Exactly. An employee can stare blankly at a monitor, occasionally tap a key to keep their status icon green, and be entirely disengaged. Yet the software reports them as highly productive.
But when a chief financial officer realizes they can purchase a B2B neurotelemetry platform that measures actual biological cognitive output and correlates it directly to revenue generation,
The justification for keystroke loggers completely vanishes.
I mean, enterprise software contracts are notoriously sticky, but the displacement value of measuring real brain power versus fake mouse wiggles is just too high.
The corporate budget will violently shift from digital behavioral surveillance to biological telemetry.
And the playbook also highlighted a massive entrepreneurial angle here, focused on defensive technologies.
Yes, the market for cognitive privacy tools. Specifically what they call neuroscramblers.
Right. If human resources to deploying optical sensors to scan your brain, a highly lucrative market emerges for software or hardware that actively defends your biological data. It's essentially cybersecurity for the human mind.
Exactly.
But how does a neuroscrambler actually work against a light sensor?
It involves generating adversarial noise. An employee could wear a discrete piece of hardware, perhaps a small device tucked right behind the ear, that broadcasts subtle optical or electrical interference.
To scramble the signal.
Right. It scrambles the signal being read by the employer's fNIRS sensors and feeds the AI decoder a false synthetic reading of a perfectly average, steady cognitive load, all while masking the employee's true internal state.
So you could be daydreaming, completely exhausted or totally mentally checked out, and the corporate dashboard just registers a steady, compliant hum of baseline engagement.
Selling enterprise-grade cognitive privacy to workers who are forced to wear these headsets is a brilliant, highly lucrative counter-trend.
That is an amazing opportunity. But the necessity of cognitive privacy really brings us to the dark side of this MediaGenX analysis.
It's time for the reality check.
Yeah, because when you optimize the human brain purely for economic output and eliminate all biological friction, you risk destroying the very mechanisms that actually drive human ingenuity.
The most severe casualty of neurological Taylorism is the death of the wandering mind.
Neuroscience frequently clashes with corporate management theory, right? I mean, AI neurodecoders are trained to value deep focus, rapid problem solving, and sustained flow.
By definition, they view a lapse in that intense focus, a moment of daydreaming, as a metric failure that must be corrected.
But biologically, the brain absolutely requires those unstructured lapses.
It does. Neuroscientists point to something called the default mode network, or the DMN.
Default mode network. What exactly is that?
It's this distributed network in the brain involving areas like the posterior cingulate cortex and the medial prefrontal cortex, and it becomes highly active when you are not focused on the outside world.
So it activates when you're staring out a window or taking a shower or just letting your mind drift.
Exactly. Corporate management views staring out a window as stolen time or a distraction. But the default mode network is doing critical biological work during that time.
It's the birthplace of empathy, the engine of creative synthesis, and the required state for long-term memory consolidation.
It is literally where a seemingly unrelated memory bumps into a current problem to generate a totally original insight.
Wow. So if the corporate AI constantly nudges you, alters your lighting, or financially penalizes you every single time you slip into the default mode network.
It effectively optimizes the biological friction out of your brain, but it also optimizes the serendipity out of human progress.
We become highly efficient biological robots, processing assigned tasks at maximum speed, but entirely incapable of dreaming up the next paradigm shift.
And this optimization process inevitably leads to another dark reality: biological discrimination.
Right. The script outlines a highly probable and terrifying scenario of neurological discrimination in hiring practices.
Imagine applying for a really lucrative, high-stress position at a high-frequency trading firm. During the final round of interviews, they ask you to wear an fNIRS headband while completing a complex logic test under artificial time pressure.
So they are not just grading my answers.
No, they are grading the thermodynamic efficiency of your brain while you solve the puzzle.
They're watching my hemodynamic response.
Exactly. And let's say they reject your application, but not because your resume lacked experience and not because you answered the puzzle incorrectly.
They reject me because the AI determined that my prefrontal cortex exhibits a high fatigue decay rate under stress.
Or that your neuroplasticity markers are lower than the baseline of their current top performers.
I am disqualified by the literal blood flow in my head. My entire career trajectory is capped by the involuntary microscopic physics of my brain.
It's biological determinism in the workplace.
Which raises the alarm about legal protections. What are the legal protections against this? If an employer can mathematically prove I am experiencing cognitive fatigue, can they just fire me for it?
Globally, the workforce is dangerously unprotected right now. The legal frameworks we currently rely on, such as HIPAA in the United States or the GDPR in Europe, were constructed to protect static digital data.
Right. Things like medical records, financial histories, and emails.
They lack any mechanisms to govern the real-time, continuous streaming telemetry of human thought and biological intent.
There is one notable prescient exception, though, right?
Yes. In 2021, the nation of Chile became the first country in the world to amend its constitution to explicitly protect brain activity and mental privacy.
Establishing the legal concept of neurorights.
Exactly. Neurorights. But the rest of the world is lagging far behind.
So think about this. If my employer purchases the fNIRS headsets, mandates I wear them, and licenses the AI model that decodes the raw data, do they legally own the telemetry of my cognitive fatigue?
Under current standard enterprise data agreements, they could absolutely claim ownership of that biological telemetry as a byproduct of your labor performed on their equipment.
That is deeply concerning. And the implications extend far beyond just the office. Could an opposing lawyer subpoena your employer's neurotelemetry to mathematically prove you were distracted at the exact moment of a workplace accident?
It's highly probable. Or think about insurance. Could a life insurance company purchase anonymized data from a data broker, use AI to de-anonymize your cognitive telemetry,
Oh man.
and deny you coverage because the microfluctuations in your blood flow over a 5-year period indicate a high statistical probability of early onset Alzheimer's disease?
They could act on that probability years before you ever display a single conscious symptom.
Yes. The inner sanctum of the mind is being mapped, packaged, and monetized. And the workforce is walking into this surveillance architecture blindly, lured by the promise of enhanced productivity and an AI that silences their notifications.
Establishing robust legal neurorights really is the most critical human rights battle of the next decade.
Without a doubt.
Well, the transition from behavioral tracking to biological extraction is clearly happening faster than our legal systems can comprehend. We covered massive ground today on this deep dive.
We really did.
Just to quickly recap. First, the historical fortress of the skull is being breached by the optical physics of near-infrared light, driven by a multi-trillion-dollar attention crisis.
Second, we're going to see the B2B Trojan Horse of corporate wellness usher in neurological Taylorism, fundamentally restructuring society into a biological class divide.
And third, the playbook is clear. The wealth will be made in photonics monopolies and data foundries, while legacy digital surveillance gets shorted. But we absolutely need cognitive privacy tools and legal neurorights to defend our minds.
It's a lot to process.
Before we sign off, I want to pose a question directly to the listener, drawn straight from the MediaGenX analysis. It's something to mull over.
It's a great question.
Think about your current job, your financial obligations, and your daily stress. If your employer offered you a $10,000 cash bonus today, on the condition that you wear a comfortable neurofeedback headband that streams your biological telemetry to an AI to prove you remain in a deep flow state for 6 hours a day, would you take the money? Or is the absolute privacy of your inner mind non-negotiable? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to see where people stand on this.
It really is the defining ethical and economic choice of the coming era. You know, in a world where every ounce of your cognitive effort is measured, squeezed, mapped, and monetized by an algorithm, perhaps the most profound, radical act of human rebellion in the 21st century won't be a protest in the streets.
What will it be?
It will simply be closing your eyes, disconnecting the sensors, and granting yourself the absolute unmonetized freedom to let your mind wander.
That is a powerful thought to end on. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss our next analysis. Stay curious, stay positioned, and above all, guard your mind. A quick reminder that everything discussed here is educational commentary, not financial or medical advice.
Do your own research.
The future of tech is always closer than it appears. We will see you on the next deep dive.